Good morning. If you could take your seats, we're going to get started. Real quick, if you would take out your phones and scan the QR code for a check-in, please, just to let the foundation know how awesome we are and how many people we have that come every week. I don't want to turn it off, but there's another QR code. Just get to check it. Cool.
It's the newer version. It's fancy. There's fire and everything.
I know, right?
The 2026
version. Lowering the barrier of access to education, resource, and connection for all types of new and aspiring entrepreneurs throughout the U.S. Our awesome team of volunteer organizers that help do this every week. You guys.
You can do it.
See? Eric, I'm just going to do first names. Erica, Britt, Tyler, Bill, Pramila, Stephanie, Siobhan, Sean, Brian, and Ray and Paula. Thank you to everyone for all of your help every week in creating new slides and all the things. Oh, look at that. Format, ground rules, we'll do the presentation, have a Q&A after. If you'd like to, ask a question, please raise your hand. One of us will bring one of these awesome microphones over to you. Excuse me. State your name, and if you can stand up, it helps with the sound and video as well. More than one, try to save it for later, and if we have time, we'll get back to you. Otherwise, we can just do some networking at the end. We do have free parking in the back of the building, which is actually recently paved, so it's a lot nicer to drive into the parking lot now instead of huge ruts that you have to drive over. And bringing your own mug. I don't know if any of you know, there's a local company called Pirani. It's really cool. They make some reusable mugs. And we got a lot of check-ins, guys. We just want to make sure you're here. Okay. So, now, flipping over to, yes. So, now I'd like to introduce you to our presenter today, Jonny Roberts of Radical Gardening, helping eco-conscious change makers and beginner gardeners turn frustration and failed attempts into thriving regenerative gardens that produce food year-round so they can live sustainably, grow their own organic food, and help heal the planet. And I'm so excited to hear more about this with two teenagers at home who eat nothing but, I don't know, trash. It's really, I'm excited to get back on the gardening train. We had our house in West Asheville. We had 2 raised beds. That house flooded with Hurricane Fred in 21, and since we moved into our new house, we have not reinstated the beds, and I really want to bring that back to them. So I'm excited to hear more about this. And without further ado, please welcome Jonny Roberts.
Is this thing on? Here we go.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. A clicker. I need that. Thank you. All right. So, yes, I'm excited to talk to y'all, be with y'all, talk a little bit about my new business, the Radical Gardening School, in order to give you a picture of why I'm doing this, who I am. I'd like to just start a little bit with sharing my story and how I got to the evolution of creating this business. So I grew up in Wisconsin, And I always knew that my life was not going to follow a straight line. I was always a little bit outside the box, a little bit of a weird kid. And I, at some point growing up, as I got older, graduating high school, realized that I needed to change my environment in order to be successful, be the person I wanted to be in the world. And what I decided to do was be the first person in my family to go to college. And when I did that, I went to college, first school I applied to, I just got in and I went. And when I got to university, I encountered something that changed my life forever. And what that was a little community local food pantry. And I started dressing up in pea costumes, that's me. And I started learning how to grow my own food. And I started to learn about environmentalism, actually. And I changed my degree to environmental studies and sustainability, and started learning about the global environmental challenges of the world, climate change, pollution, deforestation, the list continues to go on, and started to make the connection for myself that the way that we decide to be, the way we act, impacts the world around us. And I became really passionate about that. I also made the connection that one of the biggest challenges was revolving around the global food system and how much of an impact that has. And that was really challenging for me. I was overwhelmed. I didn't know how to make sense of the problems. I felt like every time I was going to the grocery store, I was contributing to this massive issue that I had no idea how to address. And that also led to a lifeline for me. And that was actually something I had control over, something I had tangible impact on, and that was growing my own food. And so I continued to do that. I ended up finishing my degree. I kept studying sustainability, and I made this connection that through having my hands in the dirt, I saw food coming out, and me eating that food, that turning into the cells of my body, and realizing that everything in this planet and everything in my life is interconnected. And that interconnectedness came with a sense of responsibility, a sense of something I needed to do. And that led to a question that I had. And that question is, how do I live in right relationship with the earth? How can I do this? And that question has been guiding me ever since. And so when I finished school, I went on a journey and I packed up all my stuff. I moved in my car and I traveled the country. I traveled to multiple other countries, and I studied sustainable agriculture, organic farming, sustainable living practices. And that journey led me to Asheville about 4 years ago. And when I moved to Asheville, I realized that y'all are really cool. And people here are progressive. People really want to connect to the land. People want to learn how to grow their own food. And I started building gardens for people. I started an edible landscape design service. And through building gardens for people, I realized something. I realized that people are very disconnected from their environment. They have no idea where their food comes from. And when I started building these gardens, I would put them in, and then no one knew how to take care of them. They're just like, what do I do with this thing? And that makes sense because learning to grow your own food is really hard. Do we have any gardeners in the room? Oh, there's a bunch of gardeners here. That's sweet. So, I, in this last year, interviewed over 100 people who are aspiring gardeners. People want to learn to grow their own food through a market research process. And what I learned is that people are often overwhelmed and unsure how to begin the journey. There's so much trial and error. There is not clear information to follow in a concise way, and finding access to regenerative, earth-based, ecologically sound practices is not readily available. And overall, people want this clear step-by-step process to actually take them through the journey of learning to grow and become more sustainable. And there was this gap between wanting to become sustainable, wanting to live a sustainable lifestyle, and actually learning the skills. And that leads me into the gap in the market. So like, how are people learning to be sustainable and grow their own food now? They're going to YouTube and Google and ChatGPT, which often is creating multiple sources of conflicting information, creating information overload. There is the Master Gardeners program, which is definitely more credible, but there isn't a cohesive understanding of ecological and closed-loop regenerative understanding in that system. And it's also more geared towards people who are have more free time, more like retired people, individuals. And then there's self-guided courses. You can download PDFs, you can get information online, but there isn't real actual support throughout the growing process and mentorship. And there's also do-it-yourself, so lots of trial and error going throughout the process. Many people I talked to did it for 5 years of failure and then just gave up. And so that brings me to the Radical Gardening School. And this is a seasonal, mentor-led, ecologically based process and program for everyday people who want real guidance throughout the journey. And so that's what, and that's what it is. So this is a fully online journey to food sovereignty and regenerative skill and confidence. And so who this is for the ecologically minded beginner gardener who is overwhelmed, wants a clear path, and really is sick of relying on the industrial food system, that wants to move to confidently managing, creating, designing, and living in a thriving garden that feeds themselves, their families, and their community. And this is designed to take people through a cohesive process. So we are starting with grounding, understanding how to think with a whole systems design perspective, what mindset you need to have, designing a garden that actually fits your lifestyle and fits what you actually need for your family and in your work environment, creating clarity around that. And then going into step 2, that's creating the garden, actually installing the core systems, putting the garden in, water systems, and then moving into growing. So moving into seasonal, step-by-step management of how to confidently actually grow your food month by month. Step 3 is all around long-term stewardship practices. So how are you creating long-term food security for yourself, managing pests, disease, etc. And the evolution is scaling and evolving the garden through the seasons year after year, and then being able to share these skills with others. It's something I learned that people are really passionate about in the gardening world, is being able to share these skills. So the program is comprised of curriculum. There's an online learning curriculum. There's a coaching element, so we do weekly coaching calls with the team, and there's one-on-one personalized support and a members-only community where people are engaging with one another. So the team right now is myself and my partner Julia. We built this business over the last 1.5 years, and I'm really excited to increase the sources of revenue to bring in a salesperson and help with marketing as well. Both of those things are key levers in the business right now. So how do I know that this works? Like I said, I did a bunch of market research, did a bunch of interviews, and then I sold the beta program. So last year, I sold 10 individuals into the program, enrolling them at $1,500 a piece. The way I enrolled them was going in Facebook groups, adding value in Facebook groups, messaging people personally, commenting on what they were responding in the Facebook groups, messaging them, forming a relationship, booking a call, and then enrolling them into the program. So that was all just me messaging people. The 10 people that were in the program had awesome success. It was really cool to see people actually building gardens for the first time, going throughout the entire process of the year. These are some photos of some of the builds that clients did last year. And now I'm currently enrolling clients for the 2026 season and bringing people in. And I feel like based off of these things, based off my market research, there is a significant growth potential for this business. There's so many people that I feel like are being underserved. So looking forward, I'm really excited to continuously develop and film the curriculum and enhance the program. I'm constantly doing that. I really want to set up a demonstration hub learning center in Asheville. So this is a place where I can teach people and work with people in a centralized location in town, and then also be able to film ongoing content for the curriculum in this learning center. And that ties to creating a nationally respected model for regenerative garden education. So there really isn't a cohesive model or system for this that's recognized. I would love to be able to create a research-backed system that can certify growers to then empower them to be able to take that model, take that system, and teach that in their community as well, sharing that with other people. And my goal is to bring in 100 students into the Radical Gardening School. At the current model, that would be $150,000 in gross revenue based off of the current pricing. But I really think that the pricing could also increase moving out of the beta stages of the course. And so how the 1 Million Cups community can support me and this business is by sharing this message with people who would be interested in learning the process. I would love to connect with people. Like I said, I'm enrolling people into the program now, and connect me with people who are interested in actually having gardens built for them in Asheville. So I'm doing a few garden design and demo projects and case studies for the course specifically, and still continuing that installation model of the business, and introducing me to any people who you feel like would be awesome collaborators. There's people that could teach in the program, there's landowners that can be involved. Anyone you feel like would be interested, I would love to talk with them. So this is a QR code to my email list. That's just getting access to resources I'm sending out, updates in the business, and then I have my contact information below, a phone number, email, and my Instagram account. So thank you so much for listening, and that's it.
Definitely have. We will be chatting later. And if anyone has any questions.
Hello, my name is Alan. Thanks for the presentation. Really easy question. How long is the beta program for the 1500?
So the beta program, I started it last year. So I enrolled people in February. They started in March. So that went throughout the entirety of the growing season. And what I'm doing now is actually giving all of those people access into this next year's program. But in terms of enrollment time, the model right now that I'm set on is enrolling people for the entirety of one full year, so a 12-month access. That way, if they enroll at any point in the year, they get access to all 4 growing seasons and guidance through all those 4 growing seasons. And then if they want to re-enroll or they want to do it again, just signing up for the program again.
Thank you.
Awesome presentation. You're so comfortable with your subject matter. I can definitely see your why. I just wanted a quick clarification. So it's $1,500 to join for the whole year.
Yep.
That's beta, and
Yep.
you're looking at moving up, or you're not landing stuck on that beta of 1,500.
Your question is am I interested or planning on increasing pricing?
Yeah, so right now is the goal, I'm gonna keep it at $1,500 and each user gets a whole year of this for $1,500. Is that what you wanna do in 2026?
2026, I plan for a price increase, certainly. I think I'm really interested where this fits in the market. There's a certain dynamic with gardeners that are very frugal, and there's a certain dynamic with gardeners that aren't. So it depends on really who I'm targeting in this. Like suburban homeowners are probably gonna have a substantial more investment involved and willingness to do that. But exactly where that number lands, $2,000, $3,000 and upwards, I'm not exactly sure where that fits in the market yet. And I think keeping it lower for me getting confidence in the program and the beta was really helpful. But I do think that there's definitely room for a price increase, for sure.
Hi, what college did you go to?
It was the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater.
Okay. How many people could you put, how many clients could you have at one time? Could you physically take care of?
Well, really, I think this model is very scalable. So I think it's upward. I don't think there's a number that it ends. For me, myself, obviously, with a certain number of enrollment, say 20, 30, 40 people, I'm gonna have to add team members. I'm gonna have to bring in more coaching calls and more support, but that's part of the plan and the model is bringing in more teachers and coaches to be able to, and salespeople to be able to take the workload off of myself. But like I said, my goal is 100 people, so I would love to be doing that. Do I think that could be all a solo business? Certainly not. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi there, Nelson.
Hey.
Thanks for the presentation. Curious about the balance between how much of the course is like self-guided, clients go on their own, and then how much like what your involvement looks like specifically.
Okay, yeah. I, in the beta program, taught the entire course and curriculum live. So I was the one teaching and delivering the curriculum live and doing the coaching calls. Now I'm recording all of that. So 2026 is all gonna be pre-recorded, self-paced throughout the entire program, though I am still in it all. Like it's still me, like I'm building an entire garden site from scratch right now, developing the 2026 curriculum as people are going through that. That's all going into school. It's a school community and platform for the course.
Hi, I'm Bill, one of the organizers, and my question goes back to what you said about scaling. You're gonna have to hire new team members. How do you replicate your knowledge base and skill base?
It's a great question. So what I envision would be really cool would be to have folks that are actually members of the community that have gone through the program and had amazing success in their results actually be onboarded as members. I think people that are familiar with me, familiar with the methodology, also a interesting place we are in the world, potentially with working with people in Asheville, is there's a lot of really cool gardeners and growers out in this region. And I think actually selecting people and working with people in the community that I work with directly and have confidence with their growing skills would be a low-hanging fruit for onboarding community members as well.
Would that be part of the certification that you put up there?
Could be. Yeah.
Hey, my name's Evan. I've got a million questions, so would love to chat with you after. But you talked about the market fit. So with the existing kind of 10 beta class folks that you had, what was their kind of demographic and backgrounds like coming into the course? And then I'm also curious how you think about expanding that. You know, there's the individual route, but I could also see this being really valuable to communities. If there's a neighborhood that wants to build a neighborhood garden, or a group of friends who bought a piece of land that they want to do something on.
great questions. So the demographic, all of the people who were in the program, no, 90% of the people who were in the program were women. Most of the people I interviewed were women. So women really are, I didn't plan that, but are much more interested in growing their own food and connecting in this way. Maybe because they're smarter. I mean, I don't know. But I think that was an interesting realization. But besides that, it was mostly suburban homeowners was the main demographic. I would say middle-class suburban homeowners that were most interested in investing something like this. A lot of people had kids and wanted to teach this to their children. I think once you have kids, it's like, wow, okay, the world and what I'm leaving them and all that stuff. And what was the other part of your question?
How you can expand the demographics.
So, yeah, I think the thing about this is that I have to really focus on people that have the money to be able to invest in something like this. So being able to focus in on that market fit is really important. So I think staying within the suburban homeowner is my plan, but at the same time, I've already run into multiple situations where there's a community or an HOA that wants to put in a garden, community garden. And one individual that's willing to like spearhead it for the community, but then actually giving it the entire community access to all of the learning materials. I actually am enrolling someone into the 2026 season that actually is starting and has an intentional community of other people. So they're going through the program with multiple others. But I think fleshing that out in more detail in terms of access would really make sense as I move forward, because I foresee that being something I'm going to be coming up against. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Deb, and I'm from the Northeast, and moving to Asheville and trying to garden in the soil, it has been basically infuriating. Like, it just spent so much time, so much of this, you've got this online community, but how much, like, do you come to the house and test the soil and problem solve on those levels? Also, I don't have a mind for actual design, so I just plant things in rows, and I got like 3 cucumbers and a tomato, and it's so irritating. So, so your program sounds like pretty heavy hands-on, at least at some point.
Yeah. So the work I've done is doing it for people, right? That's how I got the foundation in this. And really what the school is about is teaching you how to do those things, right? So locally, I do provide those services for people, but I'm teaching people all across the country. And so what I do in the program is teach you how to do those things, right? I'm empowering you with the skills. You're learning how to do your soil test. You're learning how to improve your soil. You're learning how to set up your design. What is the design process? So it's really not that you don't have the mind for it, it's just not having the skill set and the guidance to actually take you to that place in a clear way. So that's really the goal, is to empower you with the curriculum, but then there's also the coaching piece, right? Like there's I can't figure this out, and then we hop on a call and talk through any problems that you could be having and take you further. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I think that level of intervention between the myriad of free resources available, and I actually did Master Gardener 100 years ago in Vermont, but somehow, for me, that your model sounds like the right bridge to actually achieving that goal, and that's worth a lot, I think.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Have you identified your obstacles and your competitors yet? And what might they be?
Yeah, there's a few competitors. One of them is actually local. Anyone heard of Wild Abundance? They have an online gardening school. So there are online gardening schools, which to me is actually a good sign that there's people in this field that are doing this. Though they're not substantial, there's very many of them, and the ones that I see aren't as thorough and comprehensive. They're not.
What those might be.
It's a great question.
This sticky wicket here, this market condition.
Yeah.
Like, do you have like a couple of your key obstacles, goals to potentially overcome to achieve your numbers and your goals this next coming year?
Certainly. So one of the biggest obstacles that I already have identified is trust. Who am I? People don't know me yet, right? And people don't know my work. And I need to build trust within the community and authority in the space. So that's been definitely my number one challenge. So really like adding value and putting out content and just showing people the work I do. Also, what does regenerative mean? So like people are like, what is that? And I think there's like kind of ideas around it, but there's education that needs to be done, and I think simplification of some of the terms and methodology. But I also think that that's something I have to my advantage too, is there's not a lot of people doing it. There's generic online gardening courses, but in terms of like this very specific healing the planet, working with the earth while growing your own food dynamic, I think is very unique. But I like that question. I'm gonna think more about what am I up against, what are the barriers there. Yeah.
Hey, I was wondering if you're partnering with any garden supply places or compost supply places, because it seems like, I don't know your course, but it seems like you'd say like, you want to get some compost, you want to have this tool, and you could recommend someone and maybe get a discount for people.
Yeah, that's something that is on the forefront of my mind for actually creating the curriculum too, because there's certain products, there's certain tools, there's, like you're saying, suppliers that I'm gonna be able to recommend. And I think that there's a really cool partnership dynamic that can happen there. Am I currently now? Not yet. I think I'm, maybe just becoming to the point where I can start working on partnerships, but that's something I'm really excited in 2026 that I'll think will take us to the next level.
Good morning, my name is Sherry. I'm curious of all the marketing that you've done to date. What have you done?
So all the marketing that I've done to date is my own personal brand, my own personal content. So making content on Instagram, Facebook. I'm starting YouTube this year. So really that's it. Like just making content and speaking with people through direct messages, very organic. I'm really interested in taking marketing to the next level. The reason I haven't done that is specifically because I was in beta and I'm moving more into a solid model now, and that has given me copy and language and clarity on what I'm doing with marketing. So I think this year is going to be putting as much into marketing that I possibly can. Would be a wise decision, but I'm open to the marketing knowledge from this community and other people.
Hey Johnny, thanks for the presentation. My name is Brett. I live in Black Mountain. My wife has run the Dr. John Wilson Community Garden out there for the last 18 years. One of the things we've found to be really valuable is identifying microclimates. We cannot grow figs in our yard, but our neighbors have rockin' figs. So we've figured out ways to connect to each other and grow what grows well in our garden here and grows what grows over there better. So I'm curious about some strategies that you have around socializing the activity of gardening, especially as new people move into town. They're looking for ways to network and connect. We used to run a thing down in the community garden called weed weed dating, where you would weed a certain plot with somebody new, and then one person would rotate. It was nerdy and goofy and not at all about dating, but about meeting each other and doing something fun. So, curious if you've thought about the social side of what you're up to.
Yeah, so there's multiple layers to that. One is that's something I teach in the program in the course. It's like, as you're going through this curriculum, go talk to your neighbor, bring your friend in. Like I started in a community garden. Like the community aspect is really important to me, and so teaching that in the program is key to like rely on local people, local resources, build that network out, because so many people are isolated, and that's why they actually join a program like this, because they want growing community, but then teaching them, like giving them the permission to go out and engage with other people in the community is really important. And so I'm teaching that, guiding people in that direction, and then in the community here, I'm building a community garden in the process of the development of the course. So bringing people into that is really important to me. And I was just having a conversation about this before the presentation, and I predict in the next 5 to 10 years with the development of technology that people are actually going to be desiring more in-person experiences a lot more frequently. And so I think I'm going to be leaning on that into the future. And that's part of the reason why, looking forward, one of my main points was developing a demonstration garden in Asheville. Like in person, people can come and be in community, learn the systems, and then also incorporate that hopefully into a network. Like you're saying, like leaning on other people. Like I don't think that we should all be necessarily growing our own food, but how do we trade resources and collaborate to make a network that makes sense going into the future?
Wow, amazing presentation. Thank you so much. My name is Paul. And my question is, you talked a lot about the regenerative gardening, the education for people, the socialization of having a community garden. But you also talked about, especially in your origins, how it was a lot more about environmental sustainability and being more responsible as citizens of the earth and such like that. Are there any other aspects beyond the gardening aspect that you are helping people as far as just being good world citizens in that regard?
Can you give me a little bit more clarity?
Sure, like just, things about being aware of the items that they're purchasing at the grocery store.
Oh yeah,
or
oh yeah.
Recycling, or does it work, or
yeah,
any of those kind of things that go beyond just more of an ecological mindfulness.
Totally, yeah. So, there's a reason I call it the different approach than norm. And a lot of that is actually coming out of my studies of permaculture. And if anyone's familiar with permaculture, it's this design system strategy that is really foundational in earth care, people care, and distributing resources fairly. And so there is a philosophy and principles that we go through in the curriculum that I think give people a lens. It's a step into a lifestyle transformation that I think turns into something that's much more eye-opening and makes you look at your waste, makes you look at where you're purchasing things. And it's not necessarily, it is something I'm explicit about in some ways, and other ways that I'm not. Really, I think where this will go in the future is I'm interested in sustainable and regenerative lifestyle in general. So as I develop that, what I think will happen is I'll have the gardening course, but then that will branch into different categories of life, right? You have energy, you have transportation, consumption, and then there'll be ways to move throughout a process to have a more holistic lifestyle in general. But this is what I have the most expertise on and can offer right now. So as I develop more myself, I think those things will naturally follow. Yeah.
Okay, we've got time for one last question.
Hey, Johnny, my name's Jason. Great presentation. quick question that might sound kind of silly. Do people graduate from your school? And what I mean by that is, you know, are you setting up curriculums to be different every year, where somebody would want to continue to be in your program and be your client 5, 6, 7, 12 years, or is it just, you know, learn it a couple of times and then you're done?
Yeah. Yes. So the interesting thing about the nature of this is that the seasons and it's a cyclical process. So you're constantly returning back to the same place year after year and learning the same skills over and over again. Also, I've been doing this for a decade now, intensively, and I'm just feeling like I can teach it and understand it. And so it really is a process of, it's a lifelong journey in a way. And so I think that, yes, like going through 1 year of the program is gonna offer the transformation in terms of like confident understanding of like how to move forward, how to manage the systems. You have the bones in place. So I think at that point, it could be like a graduation or a certification at the end of the year. And then at the same time, I think that there's a lot of potential for continuing education and updating the program, bringing in new tools, new resources that people will want to buy into and continually get support on. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's put our hands together for Jonny. Yes. I'm glad that you like us and you stayed here. Woohoo, winning. Okay, so just real quick, if this will switch back, I don't know. Okay. I can hear. Yeah, one more time. The check-in. Hey, Brian, I can hear you. I can hear you. All right, let's give a shout out to all of our event sponsors: Charlie and Troy Ball, Hatch Co-working, Mountain BizWorks, Pisgah Fund, NC Idea, EOS Entrepreneurial Systems, Baird, ERC Broadband, Brick Creative, Dynamite Roasting, Broadbeam Live Media, Western Carolina University, and SCORE. Let's see what's happening. Next week, Climate Interactive with Andrew Jones. Yay. Yay. Awesome. I'm excited too. On the 27th, January Pub Club. Join the Asheville Young Professionals at the Foundry for a casual social gathering with peers. First drink free. Digital Nomads, Tuesday night, hitting the slopes up at Catalucci. Also, Digital Nomads, Manifesting Next Best Self at East Asheville Library from 6 to 8. And Mountain BizWorks, entrepreneurial classes throughout 2026. Upcoming presenters. Oh, yeah. Sure. Of course. And here's some upcoming presenters for the month of February. We've got Climate Interactive next week, and then Owendale Art, which they do pet caricatures, portraits, really, really cool stuff. Closetorium, and the Glitter Sisters, all coming up in the next couple of weeks. So feel free to stop by and check it out. And if you want to check in again, have at it. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week. Thanks for being here.